Сессия «Новое блоковое разделение мира. Стратегия России». На сцену приглашаются модератор Кобяков.
The session is called New Global Bloc Division Russia Strategy. I invite the moderator.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak at this prestigious platform. My exposition, by and large, would reinforce what my previous esteemed speaker said. And let me give my concluding remarks first and then sort of justify why I'm saying so. We all know that the post-World War world order is almost in the dumps, and the new one has not yet emerged. But it would be instructive for us to recall different stages of the evolution of world order. The first was the bipolar world, which was basically driven on the ideological lines. And that ideology, again, is coming to the fore in the form of a civilizational contestation. Then we got into an era of what you call is a symmetric bipolarity, in which China caught up with United States of America, which is the reigning hegemon. And there was some talk sometime about G2, though it did not gain much traction. And then we graduated to the era of what you call is diffuse multipolarity, which is now characterized by dysfunctional multipolarity, contested multipolarity, and dysfunctional unilateralism. While the two countries, China and United States of America, were vying for strategic influence, Russia, in the meanwhile, had gained its strength, and it came to the fore to reclaim its legitimate sphere of interest in its own neighborhood. And then arose the other countries like G20, the Global South, and India being part of that whole thing. And the whole ideology was rooted in what you call is strategic autonomy. But then came the biggest strategic shock. While globalization was making bold strides, came a strategic shock of COVID. And during the COVID, most of the countries, they got into the siege mentality. Globalization took a back seat, and Pax Americana and Pan Seneca, they lost their luster. That was coupled by two other strategic shocks, and that is Ukraine war and the conflict in Gaza. And then came the arrival of Mr. Trump, who's been the most disruptive leader, I think, in the history of the United States of America. And this Trump 2.0 has further exacerbated the problem, because he is not only causing the internal chaos, but also inducing external strategic shocks. And that is in the form of what you call is America First or Make America Great Again. And there is the shock and awe. But there are three important aspects of his philosophy. One is he's helping in dismantling the existing world order. Second is his whole approach is cutting deals, a kind transactional diplomacy to the entire statecraft. And third is to boost up the deterrence. He's not going to let go the capabilities of United States military. In this milieu, there are four loose conglomerations or clusters of blocks which are emerging. One is collective West, and second is US East Asia Security Alliance. Then you have NATO, Five Eyes, and AUKUS. But there is a division in this. If you see the collective West and NATO, their position was very consolidated in the Ukraine war. But when it came to Gaza conflict, there were fissures within this division. Particularly, there were voices within Europe which did not subscribe to what United States of America was doing in Gaza. Then, very loosely, people started talking about, the CRINC, that is China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea. But it's more of a confabulation of some strategic thinkers rather than a reality on ground, because to my mind, neither China nor Russia would like to get tied down in this kind of a construct. which is, outwardly anti-West. And then, of course, came G21, 54 countries during the summit in New Delhi of Africa were included in, which became far more representative. And these countries together with ASEAN have started, professing what you call is the strategic autonomy. They are not taking sides with one bloc or another. They are at the new form of what you call is non-alignment 2.0. And then are other organizations which are cutting across these blocks, and these are organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, and things like that. Now, this is where we are. Now, in the meanwhile, what we know exactly that we are today in a world which is underscored by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, hyperconnectivity, and disruptions. And there would be certain trend lines that we need to watch, which would contribute towards the crystallization of a new world order. What are these trend lines? One is that I think the transatlantic alliance will undergo a lot of stresses and strains because what Putin has done. And likewise, there is a question mark on future of NATO, whether they will be able to stay together, whether European countries will be able to do the load sharing of such huge defense spending. There is a pitch in Europe for the revival of European states, both in terms of their economic architecture and in terms of security architecture, but they do not have the funds and wherewithal actually to put gravitas to this kind of a notion. Then, of course, there is a little bit of, I would say, more traction that has come to Russia, China, Iran axis. And then are the future of regional organization, which are asserting for space and asserting for voice in their own way. But there are other heightened contestations which we are going to witness. And one is there would be, a race for domination over strategic locations. Among other things, I would say the Arctic is going to be the next region where there's going to be some kind of a contestation. Contestation over resources, particularly like semiconductor, chips, rare earth metals, minerals, then economy. Again, this debate is going to be central to this new bloc formation, whether the dollar will hold its supremacy or you're going to have some kind of a system which would bypass dollar. That would be followed by technological sort of a contestation in which we are virtually looking at two parallel ecosystems, one that is dominated by China and another by United States of America, in which artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep data analytics, quantum computing, lethal autonomous weapon systems, all these will come to the fore, and actually there would be a technological or digital divide. And then, of course, the military, the erstwhile, state-to-state conflicts almost are not anymore on the horizon. We have prolonged wars, which are mostly hybrid in nature, which are played out in the gray zone, with disruptive technology being the predominant factor in the warfare. And then we are seeing the arms race. You look at CIPRI report, most of the countries are spending more money on the arms, and you have the nuclear brinkmanship. You see escalate to de-escalate, or Americans going for the low fissile material weapon systems. And the Chinese are increasing their arsenal to about 1,500 warheads, and maybe there is a talk about review of the nuclear doctrine of China per se. Then another frontier which has become paramount is the cognitive domain, in which, strategic communication, information operations, by using, deep fake, dark net, dark web, metaverse, this is going to be the new race, because anybody who controls the algorithms actually will be able to control the minds. So what is there in future? I think that multipolarity is there to stay. Most of the countries would either be hedging against the disruptions and uncertainties, or they will keep balancing, aligning, and realigning. So we'll see that things are going to be in a state of flux. Under these circumstances, what is paramount that countries must maintain a sustained dialogue, and we should have a look about this debate about nationalism versus globalization, because shared nationalism will actually take us in a reverse gear. And there is a requirement of reforms in the multinational institutions, be it United Nations, Bretton Woods institutions, which should be more representatives. So we'll have to create a new frameworks. Finally, where does Russia and India...
time limit, please.
Russia and India fall into that. I think our positions on multipolarity are totally aligned, and Russia's pivot to Asia and India's Act for East policy and the North-South corridor or Vladivostok-Chennai corridor, these are the corridors of the future which will not only be beneficial to both the countries but to the region and globe as a whole. But this is the time for risk mitigation so that we do not accidentally get into some conflicts and we run into the risk of having another global war. Thank you very much. Yes, I think this is a very important question. You see, let me talk about economics first. This Eurasian Economic Union is a very, very sound concept. And I think there is a tie-up between Shanghai Cooperation Organization, you're a signatory to Belt and Road Initiative, and I think India has also made attempts to join the Eurasian Economic Union. So this is a low-hanging fruit that we should make use of. Second important thing is that, for India to be an important economic player in Eurasia, we need to overcome the factor of geography because we do not have the direct geographic connectivity to the region. To that extent, one is the international North-South trade corridor, which should be operationalized faster than before. And if there are any problems about economic sanctions by US, including, say, on Chabahar, we have to find ways and means. How do we circumvent those and convert this into a green corridor in the sense that we should be able to harmonize the positions in regard to customs and border controls of different countries which fall on the way. Otherwise, it will not become very competitive. Equal importance has to be given to Vladivostok-Chennai corridor because that will connect India with your Far East, which is an area of preference for India now, and also with the North-South, transportation corridor. So we will be able to create a web of these transportation corridors. Similarly, like we purchased a lot of energy from you, probably we were at one point #1 country, and we were racing for #1 and #2 position with China. So energy is going to be a requirement for India. We're going to be the #2 consumers of energy, and we want to diversify. So we have to look at the geopolitics of energy and how North-South Russian energy can come easily to the Indian markets. And the last thing in the security arena, my request to my Russian friends always has been, do not ignore Afghanistan, right? Your CI southern belt is very, very vulnerable. Nobody is in control in Afghanistan. There are about more than 20 entities of different sorts in Afghanistan. And Islamic State of Khorasan province is a real threat. And you've seen so many attacks. So let's work on whether this is regional anti-terrorist organization, what you call the RATS, or it is the peace mission series of exercise under Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a collective security treaty organization. I think more attention needs to be paid to this so that we are able to collectively look at the security problems of this and many other problems like climate change and RLC problems and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just yes or no, is there any future for deeper cooperation between Russia and India besides just trading in commodities and energy resources? Probably we have some future prospects in high-tech technologies. What do you think?
Yes. Today, India, I think we have a Silicon Valley within India. We have very good information technology. and computer technology. So this is one area where sort of our digital skills, I think we're the largest digital economy today in the world. The applications have been very, very popular. So this is one area wherein we can learn from each other. Similarly, the high-end technology in terms of, you're producing these lithium batteries, right? So we need those lithium batteries. We need other high-end defense technology from you, because we can't rely, because there's no transfer technology system as far as West is concerned. That's another area. Third area where we can help you is in developing the telecommunication sector, suppose along your North Sea routes or your Arctic region. Indian labor, skilled labor, and Indian technocrats are available, and even Indian companies are available to become a collaborator and partner in the development of your Far East.
Спасибо.